So catchy.
Yeah, and it's rare. It's rare that you have like a strong, deep female voice like she has. Like it's.
Who are you talking about?
Have you seen Encanto?
Yeah.
So the older sister, the big strong one, she's got just this really deep. There you go.
I'm the strong one. I'm not nervous.
So good.
I'm as tough as the crust of the earth is. I'm in mountains, I'm in churches, and I glow because I know I'm worth it.
Hey Amanda. Hey Dawn.
I don't ask how hard the work is. Got a rough and destructive.
Yeah, no.
Hi, Mark.
Back down the Hamilton Hall.
Yeah, that's good too.
All right. Scott joining Lynette?
He's at an inspection
Mm.
that's taking longer than he thought, so.
I had a first happen yesterday.
What happened?
Oh gosh. I was at a septic and well inspection and my clients are like remodeling the whole thing. So they were there measuring. And I brought Isaac and the baby because they love them.
Mm-hmm.
He's
Mark.
Well, come time to lock up, it was
Good to
like
see you.
after 12, we got there at 10. We were there.
I'm a little under the weather today, so I'm doing work from my bed.
Vacant house.
Can you hear me okay? I'm going through a different mic.
We looked
I wanna make sure you
everywhere.
can hear okay.
I can hear you great.
Super box, you know, the thing.
Fantastic.
So I had to make that call.
Oh,
I felt so irresponsible. And then I had to tell her the septic failed too. So that was not an awesome phone call.
oh,
Oh,
was she okay?
yeah, they said they had extra keys and the septic is getting handled, but
And still, I had a seller hand me her key the other day, and I got home.
and didn't know where you put
I'm
it.
like, I have no idea which pocket. I mean, my
found it.
jeans were folded and back on the shelf, and so fortunately they were still in that pocket.
We'll give it another 2
that,
minutes
like,
here and then we'll get
moment
going.
Oh, hey, I can't find the key again. Oh my gosh.
I'd gone. I just couldn't believe it. And they had their dog, so I'm just like, maybe the dog ate it.
I will turn up. The
They
buyers will
will
find
it. I said you're gonna demo the house and then you're gonna find it.
Mhm.
That's gonna happen. So I really.
At least
learned-
it's under contract. It wasn't like for a show, you
Yeah.
know, like, oh, there's a bunch of showings and I lost the key.
I would have went and picked up the key, another one for them, you know, if that would have been the case,
Mhm.
but. Yuck.
17 people said that they were
I saw
going or interested.
that.
So I tell you,
I saw that. I was expecting a lot more people.
they probably heard you were coming and
Mark,
got spooked.
whatever.
That was a very sister. Whatever.
Is happy hour just for when you cap, or is it if you make the like, the board, you know what I mean, for, doing so many transactions? Cause I said to Scott, oh, it's only once a year that we're gonna cap, you know, but then I thought, oh, maybe it's for,
We're figuring it out. So
Okay.
it's not for the top producer list. Like if
Okay.
you had a good month, that's great. But it is just for cappers.
okay,
The initial thought was, hey, we'll do it quarterly with those that have capped within the last quarter.
Mhm.
But I think we'll probably be a little bit freer than that. with
I just was curious. I started thinking, well, maybe it's not just for cappers, maybe it's for.
Oh no, cappers only. No,
Nice. No, nobody else, huh?
that's right. Rare air. What's your sweatshirt say?
I
Oh,
forget what verse
there you go.
it is.
Philippians
Philippians,
4:8.
yeah.
Love it.
I need to take some stuff to big Kahuna to get.
Get some t-shirts made.
Yeah, hoodies, sweatshirts. I have a fleece and that's it. Fleece and a hat, and I've been here almost 5 years. Like that's ridiculous. But when I go online to try to find stuff, it's not cute. Like, it's not cute.
Did you have a good turnout for happy hour?
Yeah, we had 12 or 14, something like that.
I mean, Scott was late getting home, or, you know, he was there late, but that doesn't tell me anything.
Yeah, I left at 6. It was technically 4:30 to 6. But the last people left at 7:30.
Yeah.
Sounds like a good time was had. All right, we will get going and hopefully others will
Not like
show their faces. Mm,
Pretty sure just hold down your corner rear quietly, minding your own business.
Stand in his lane.
Yeah, we said realtors have the reputation of being late and we were early, so it was weird.
Realtors do have that reputation and
We want to break it.
a lot of them live up to it.
Yeah.
It's just, it's okay. Is it okay? Yeah.
No.
All right, we will get rolling. Amanda, can you give me a thumbs up that you can still hear me? Awesome. Fantastic. You are here because we are going to be talking about leverage in your business. Growing the right way, growing without losing your mind, that sort of thing. I am going to pass these out to those that are here. Don't be bothered about it yet. We will talk about it in a minute. And we'll be doing a screen share for those that are zooming. All right, so I'm going to do a brief overview, and then so this is just to give a little bit of context. This is part of a series. So we are those who are interested in leverage. It's a leverage journey, not a leverage. Let me learn something one time. And I'm learning that most people need the follow-up, the accountability, I have ideas now where do I go? So the plan and the vision for this is that it is the first in what will be a 6-part series. And I have yet to decide if it's going to be monthly or bi-monthly, but it's going to give time for folks to learn, implement, apply, and keep going from there. This is also, and anyone who knows me knows that I'm collaborative and conversational. So I'm going to be bringing topics for us to discuss and bringing some content, but this is designed to be dialogical. So those who are Zooming plan to unmute at some point, and we'll get going. So with that, a little bit of kind of preface, and then we'll get some conversation going about why you're here and how we can make sure that this will be a win for everybody. So you've heard in a lot of what I draw from is drawn from the Millionaire Real Estate Agent. You've heard that a successful real estate business has, in this triangle here, leads, listings, and leverage. A couple of questions I put here. Why does that order matter as we think about building a successful business with a solid foundation? Why does leads, then listings, then leverage? Why does it have to happen that way?
Well, you can't get any listings if you don't have any leads.
Okay. Yep. What else?
So I feel like when you get the leads, you're also building your database. So that's a big portion of like our job.
Mm-hmm. And really that has to be first, right? Without leads, you ain't got no business. And it's got to start there. Why does leverage come last? Where should it come last?
Because you need stuff to do. You need people to help you do stuff. You already have to sort of establish the business, I guess, and then you bring other people in and push further by letting others take on the stuff that they could be doing. But if you don't, if you hire a big team and then you're just sitting there with nothing to do,
Yeah,
how can you afford that?
exactly. You need enough problems for other people to help you to solve, or enough clients for other people to help you to serve. In order, that's the reason. What are invalid reasons to add leverage?
You just don't feel like doing something.
You don't feel like doing something. Tease that out for me.
Like, you might not feel like getting on the phone and making calls, so you wanna hire someone else to do it, but you really don't have the money to pay them to do that, but you don't feel like doing it. So you're kinda-
We know a guy that's doing that right now. Yeah, I don't like talking with people, so let me pay someone else to talk with people. Okay, it's logical, have someone else do the thing that I don't like to do, but can that business afford that? No, in most cases. Other invalid reasons to add leverage to your business. So Zari says there's something that you don't want to do, you don't like doing. Any other thoughts there? The one that I come across most often is, hey, I just like to mentor people. I just want to help. I just like the self-actualized, it would be cool to do real estate in this manner. That sounds good. Like, hey, I'd rather do it with people than by myself. And I'm a highly relational, collaborative person, but you run into the same problem. If you're doing it because you're trying to avoid things, or hey, let's just be a merry band, because that's what I prefer. At the end of the day, it won't be sustainable because you can't afford that in your business. So therefore, our next question, when is it appropriate to add leverage? Anyone want to take a stab?
When you have more work than you can handle,
More work than you can handle.
more
How-
people.
Yeah, more people, more clients. How do you know you've reached that point?
When
Sam?
you can't cross your T's and dot your I's and people slip through the cracks, you
Mhm.
miss opportunity.
Yep.
To
Yep.
me.
Yeah, the answer is that's the only reason to grow. Like if you say I want to start a team, I'll say great. Or I want to hire help. This isn't just about starting a team, it's about growing through leverage. Great. Do you have more business than you can handle? If not, go back to go. If yes, let's talk about what the next step. If there's someone who wants to, hey, I think it would be cool to run my business that way. Great, let's create a leads problem and get you to that place. Some of you are already up to your eyeballs saying, I need help now. And some of you are saying, no, this is where I'd like to be in 6 months or a year or 2 years, whatever. And we're glad you're here regardless. So there are 6 of us here right now, small group. Two questions, and they're kind of related questions here. Why are you here today? And what will make this a good use of your time? What question can be answered? What topic specifically addressed? What tool worked through that will ensure that this is a good use of your time? With that, I'll put you on the spot.
I guess thinking through, we're going through that hiring process, so I don't know how to make sure we don't jump too fast or overextend ourselves as we go through that process.
What are you hiring for?
An admin person who also can do other things.
So
Licensed admin?
They are not licensed.
assurance as you hire.
Yeah.
Yeah, has the offer been made?
She's coming right out at 3:00.
Oh, that's awesome.
So yeah,
To talk about it?
to talk about the offer, yeah.
Oh my.
That's
awesome.
It's
Exciting.
It is exciting.
Yeah,
And she used to do inside sales, so that'll be a nice,
that's really good.
I know.
I think you got a good one.
I think so.
Yes,
And I'm happy that Scott can say to her, hey, I need to make these phone calls instead of me.
All right, who else? Nick, why are you here? What would make this a good use of your time?
Hey, what's up, guys? So I'm here, last year got crazy, I think, for pretty much all of us. And what I'm trying to do now before things get crazy is find ways to find leverage in my business to where I can be more present with my family, with my kids, and things that I like to do outside of real estate. So just that's the main reason I'm here. And before things get too crazy this year, I think that's a good time to focus on that.
Mhm. So kind of clarity around what it looks like to have the bandwidth to do more of what matters.
Yep.
Sam, how about you?
Why am I here?
Because I told you you had to come.
I don't know, my business was manageable last year. It was my busiest year, so I think I want to know what my options are for the next step for leveraging my business.
Sure.
Like what I have to get in place to hire somebody. Honestly, because right now I don't feel like I need to hire anybody,
Mhm.
but I don't have things in place to hire someone. But what needs to be in place, like
Okay.
that's all new to me.
Yeah, you had a year that you didn't anticipate or that you'd never had before. You had a baby during that year. How do I set the table, so to speak, to get to where Scott and Lynette now are?
I don't want to hire somebody and not know what the heck to have them do.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah, it's one thing to say, oh, I'm busy, I need help. It's another thing to lay the groundwork for
like
that.
I'd like to get specific in the class. You know, get into the nitty gritty of that stuff and not just talk about it, but like get
Mhm.
into it.
Mhm. Great.
It's things that you can actually implement.
Nitty gritty. Anyone else? Amanda? Dawn? I don't know if we lost. Reese?
Can you hear me okay?
Sure can.
Okay, so I am here because my business is rapidly growing, which is a good problem to have, but I'm starting to get to a point where it's really becoming hard and challenging to do it on my own. And with some future plans, I need to get a game plan in place relatively quickly. And so what will make this a good use of my time, I think, is really figuring out how to leverage that time and how to utilize, like how do I build a team? How do I build the resources to help make all of this happen?
Similar to Sam.
Yeah.
So Reese, how about you?
Just so that, like I don't need to hire anyone yet, but like when I do the staff point, I know what to do. And I need to know like what job I'm hiring for, because I need to know how to do those jobs first before I can hire someone.
Mhm. Yes, and I disagree with the last statement that you made there, but we'll dive into that. That'll be a common fables around building a team, is I have to have it figured out before I hire someone. Maybe that's true, maybe not. For those who are here, this is the printout you have. And this is, it's in Millionaire Real Estate Agent. And basically it's a map of where your business can go. This is not a requirement. You don't have to move in this direction. But basically, one of the benefits of KW is you don't need to reinvent the wheel. And so you are all pretty well.
I know I'm gonna be okay, but I'm just step out.
Okay, well, that's gonna make it. You are all pretty well in the first level with elements of support that might kind of look second level-ish. But this is the roadmap. I met with a guy yesterday in the Mansfield area. When I asked him, hey, where do you want to be in 3 years? He said, I want to be on a beach collecting checks. And he's got investment portfolio as well. I was speaking to that. But this is kind of the path. The 7th level is the path to the beach, if that's what your goal is. A lot of people, when I'm talking about growth, they'll say, oh, I want to grow. I'd love to have a team, but I don't want to have what Jose has, because it looks like it's just this massive organism, which it is. His team is a 5th level team, which might sound weird because it's highly productive, but not everybody. The 7th level is the environment where you have hired a CEO to truly run your team, and you're not, you're providing guidance and clarity and leadership to them, but you are not pulling any of the strings or involved in the day-to-day operations. So I'll just fire through these real quick, kind of give an overview. So first level, it's just you. And as we look at the two columns here, there's really two sides of the business. There's the getting of the business, and then there's the serving of the business. Sales and marketing, administration, and processing. And so, you can see here, you start off and you're the one, you're it. And if you are on Zoom, you can take a screen grab of this, or you can find this in the MREA if you don't already. Level 2, which is the path that the Achilles are on right now, and would be the next step for many of you in this room, would be to add an assistant. Basically saying someone who can take a lot of the tasks off my plate. And then we split out what an assistant can do at level 3. At level 4 is when we add help on the sales side of things, and so on and so forth. Just a slightly deeper dive on this, kind of job descriptions as it relates to the Millionaire Real Estate Agent. And so take a screen grab of this when we talk about who does what. The top is sales side, bottom is admin side. And really what we're looking for, and this is nice that most people are kind of in a similar place. We're looking for a blend of the marketing and admin manager with the transaction coordinator. If we're looking to hire, and we're going to talk a little bit later about whether actually hiring is better, because adding leverage and hiring are not exactly the same thing. And so we'll talk a little bit more about that. Why leverage? That's some of what we've discussed already, but we all know this, that not all tasks are created equal. Who knows their DISC? I'd love to get a sense for people's DISC personality profiles. Anybody know and want to share? Amanda?
I do. So I am a DI.
Okay, that does not surprise me.
Yes.
Anyone else?
ID.
ID?
Mhm.
Same. Do you know, Zarice?
Melissa looked at mine yesterday and she said that it's like a D, it's like at home I'm a D, but I can, what is it, like convert to a C.
Adaptive versus natural.
Yeah.
Mhm. Interesting.
I took it in 2018, I don't remember.
I would guess you are an IS.
Can you send it to me to do?
Mhm. Yep.
I'd like to do that.
Nick, how about you?
IS is your guess.
Scott's an IS.
Nick, do you know what you are?
Mine's like all over the place.
I don't. Can you tell me what I am?
I want to see if you're right.
You come across as an I, and I is like the energy from people and like seeks relationships. I'm an off the charts I. But I think you're just a really friendly, cool guy that would be more in this SC space, because you like consistency, details. Like Nick loves writing his own contracts and doing his own paperwork because it's a competitive edge that he has. So maybe you got some ISC. I would think I is your highest, but I could be wrong. I ask this because as we think about adding leverage, and Zarice made the good point earlier that we don't add leverage just because we don't like something. We add leverage because we're too busy and because it's not the best use of our time. So I am going to stop this slideshow and I'm going to pull up a tool. I pulled this off there's a Facebook group called Pivot Shift Ahead, which if you're not a member of it, I strongly recommend. There's great content and conversation being shared there all the time. It's led and hosted by James Shaw, who's the VP of Learning for Keller Williams. And this is just someone who shared, basically, here's their 83-step checklist for someone when someone is selling their house. And from the point that, it's already listed. So this is from truly basically contract to close, where, okay, here's the 19 steps as it relates to fielding offers and managing the contract. Here's the 5 more steps or 6 more steps as it relates to coordinating and communicating. And there's the inspection period and title and loan and appraisal and utilities and closing and recording and possession. This is just an example. And this is just for contract to close on the seller side of things. I don't know how many of you have ever broken something like that down in your business. But it is helpful to see that not all tasks are created equal. So let's just look at some of these examples here. Change MLS status to pending. Review and verify that all compliance is completed for the office. Provide sources for homeowners insurance. These are things that have to happen in order for a deal to get done. But is it necessary for you to be the one to do it? The answer is no. Non-rhetorical, and there is a right answer. Oftentimes, and I think a number of you who are in this room are this way, we're like, hey, part of my challenge with adding leverage to my business is part of my value, part of my calling card is the fact that they're going to talk with me every step of the way. I don't want my client experiences to suffer. I don't want agents to be confused based upon who they're communicating with, because the more people you add in the process, the more complexity can exist. But of these 83 steps, and I haven't broken all of this down, but I think maybe 10 or 12 of them are actually client facing, while the rest is behind the scenes and making sure things are in order. You could argue that these are $15 to $20 to $25 an hour activities, important to have done and to have them done right. But if you compare that with obtaining a client, which none of this happens if you're not obtaining a client, suddenly you're able to, so this was if I think about it, this was a $2,000 an hour activity because of what that client will lead to. So ultimately, the why leverage question is not just I'm too busy, but your secret sauce, if you're an agent, needs to be the building of relationships, nurturing of relationships, and establishing, building your client base so that you can service this. And so part of the why leverage is putting yourself into more $2,000 an hour activities and leveraging out the $15 to $20 to $25 an hour activities. Does that make sense?
What was that, the thing that you had pulled up before with all the lists? You said
Yep.
it was from somewhere, like,
It was from the
Pivot.
Pivot Shift Ahead
oh, okay.
Facebook page, and you just search checklist in there. They have these on KW Connect as well. Side note on this, if you don't have one of these already, I would strongly encourage modifying one or creating one, not just for your own tidiness and processes, which is important, but also from a winning your client standpoint. You got someone who just listed their home yesterday as a FSBO. You say, hey, did you know, yes, the market is hot and you might be able to find someone just by posting it on Zillow, but boom.
It goes into.
Do you know what's involved? And the answer in almost every case is no. And so this can be part of your value proposition, not just helping to leverage tasks from you. So if you don't have something like this already, I would encourage you for the buy side as well as from the sell side. And this isn't just a listing presentation or a buyer's consultation packet. It's a boom, here's what you can expect from our team. And why don't we just, while we're on this, some of you have met Ann, not all of you have met Ann, but I'd love to hear you just share for 3 minutes briefly about kind of how you connect to this conversation. You are muted, Ann. I can't hear you.
I don't think she knows.
I can't hear you. I'll tell you guys. You dropped something in the chat there. Ann, if you weren't already aware, Ann is our in-house transaction coordinator, closing coordinator. So basically, she has versions of this Her goal is to be the easy button for the contract to close side of things. This class is not meant to be just a shameless plug for Ann, but if you find yourself either, hey, I'm an ID, I love pace, I love relationships, I love business building, and I have to manage transactions, but I don't love it. Hiring Ann for $225 per transaction is no-brainer money as you think about kind of being able to focus on the things that matter most to help grow your business. Sorry that the mic isn't working, but is that a fair summary in the quickest bullet sort of way, Ann? All right, thumbs up. And if you guys need her contact information to learn more about whether that could be of value to you, be glad to provide that. She's in our Facebook group as well. All right, so there's that. We'll go back to this. So what should I leverage? There are two main categories, and I've already touched on this, but what are the two major buckets in your business that make the most sense to leverage at the outset? Anybody?
Putting people in your database.
Okay. Database. I'm gonna.
I wrote it down too.
You did? You can prompt me at the end.
To see where we're at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, we're doing Family Feud with 2 questions. So Lynette, you're absolutely right. Database. We all know your database is your business. That nurturing your existing sphere is the lowest cost, highest return business. And I think like 97% of agents, totally anecdotal, but 97% of agents suck at it. Hey, yeah, I'm active on social media. I text people as I remember. I say hi, like I'm good at making connections, but actual systematic nurturing of the database. I met a stranger, now what? I think, not to throw anyone under the bus, but I think most people would say like 1 to 10 scale, I'm giving myself a 6 at best. And so how do we, and Amanda, we talked a little bit about this at Growth Committee the other day. What does it look like to be organic and building relationships, but systematic at the same time? Organic is not an excuse for winging it. So yes, database management. In order to grow your business, you have to master your database. And if you're not doing that, having someone to help do that is a no-brainer. I'll also add, because the answer number 2 that we'll hit on in a second has to happen. Managing your database is not something that has to happen. There's never like, oh, I have a data emergency. I must set someone up, wake up thinking about putting someone on a smart plan. Like, no, none of us have ever had that. It's more like every 6 weeks, what happened to that person? Did I send that follow-up? It's the general unease that I don't have confidence that my people won't slip through the crack. Jose's team, 80% of their business comes from their database, from nurturing and communicating and following up with in a systematic way. So long answer to yes. What's the other one? We've already talked about it.
Paperwork? No?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Tease it out for me more. More specific.
Offer paperwork?
Yeah. Contract to close. So when we talk about Ann, this is her lane. We don't have anyone at this point, though we were just talking about it in our leadership meeting this morning about, as we think about services that agents can pay for, database management is one of those opportunities. But these are the 2, as you think about, oh, I'm at the place where I need to add leverage in my business. It's starting with 1. And again, class isn't designed to be a shameless plug for Ann, but starting with solving this and conceivably going to how do I handle both of these at once. So leverage, you know, it's a big word that we use a lot. A lot of people don't know what it means. It's designed to answer 3 questions. Who's going to do it? The people. How will they do it? What system are we following or putting in place? And what will they do it with? Can I end a question with a,
No, a preposition.
Yeah.
Nope.
with what will they do it? Yeah, even as I type that, I'm like, ooh. The grammarian in me is ashamed. So that's fundamentally, leverage is a fancy word, but that's what we're looking to put in place. The goal, and to quote Preston from a meeting last week, the goal is to run a business that sells houses, not be someone that just, I'm a person that sells houses. How do I run a business that sells houses with me being part of it? Sam, you might cringe as I say something like that because you value relationships so much, but it is not, they're not mutually exclusive. Thoughts or questions about any of this so far?
I will just add for Ian, I mean, we used her the second half of last year and she was super helpful. And so like for us, that was a piece of the leverage that we
Yep.
did before. And then at some point we're realizing like, okay, I think we can
There are more,
keep going and yes, bring someone on, but she did a great, I mean, it was just nice to be able to say, okay, we know she's got this. And we don't
Yes.
have to, you know,
Peace
stay
of
on top
mind-
of this
peace of
thing.
mind is
Yes,
worth
she
paying
would be
for.
the contact person to reach out if there was something. And then I was thinking maybe you could end it with a preposition because it's a question, not a,
thank you.
I think, but I could be wrong.
Any other thoughts or questions as we continue here? All right, so the organizational model is basically 3 major parts. When you've done all you can, hire administrative help is one. And that involves defining the role that you're hiring for, defining the core tasks that are necessary for you to hire for, not just I need help, but what and how. Next, you are looking to hire talent. It might sound corporate, but you're not just hiring a friend. You're not just hiring someone that wants a job. You're hiring someone that's going to help your organization to grow. We talk about true talent versus cul-de-sac talent. Cul-de-sac talent needs to be pushed. They're going to do the bare minimum. They're going to get things done, but no more. And at this stage, as we go back to thinking about where you could go, your first hire, assuming that you have interest in, most people, when they think about hiring, they say, oh, I want to bring on an agent. Oh, I want to leverage. The thing that we didn't put on here is running around showing homes and being the person that opens the door for inspectors. That comes later. You have to figure out your administrative core before you hire showing assistants or buyer's agents. We can talk more about that later if you need convincing.
Since you're on this, is
Yeah.
there a volume or unit recommendation on a consistent level for each tier? Because for me, it's like, okay, 42 deals, almost 9 million, like where's that at? You know, and what do I have to get to do the next thing? Is there a magic?
So Sam's question, if you guys, can you guys hear the other people? Like, I mean, good, great. When do I know when I level up? It's more about load in the system than it is about volume. So you're right. So traditional conventional wisdom, when you're hitting the 30 to 40 units a year mark, that's when you need more help. Obviously, some people that are highly organized and like they just eat, sleep, and drink systems and think about this stuff all the time. Other people are a hot mess and can't find their tail in the morning. And so that's dependent, but 30 to 40 units a year tends to be the like, okay, you're likely missing out on opportunity or providing a substandard level of care to your people if you don't have someone or some system helping. So that's not a level specific thing. Like I said, like we have some 7th level teams in Keller Williams that do way less business than Jose's team does. And Jose just wants to be in the 5th level because he likes actually selling. He likes going on listing appointments. He likes being connected to the life of the business, where some people truly want to be on the beach and they sell 25 million a year and you can get away with that. Whereas, yeah, so it's more about load in the system than it is about volume. And, we know an agent that does 120 deals a year with an admin. And she leverages out some, refers out to buyers, like she's able to focus more on higher return activities, but she's not the norm either. You shouldn't say, oh, she sells 120 houses a year with just an admin. Like that's not standard. Is that helpful?
Mm-hmm. Can somebody work from home as your assistant,
Yeah, absolutely.
their house?
Sure.
And we can hear you now. Do you want to?
Mark, are you able to hear me now?
Yes, I sure can.
Awesome. Can you?
Yeah.
I actually jumped on the call with my cell phone. So I think we're 100% through cell phone now. You can hear me well?
Yep, sure can. Give us a brief overview of what you do for our agents.
Terrific. Well, I thought this was the perfect time to chime in because there was a question about whether that particular assistant or transaction coordinator could work offsite remotely. And I am physically here in the Medina office. And I'm typically here Monday through Friday during the business day, but frankly, I could work from home just as easily. I do prefer sometimes to have the structure and the discipline of an office. So for now, I am Monday through Friday from about 8:30 in the morning till about 5. But I wanted to talk a little bit about what I'm hearing from various real estate agents. Most of you on the call, I'm sure, love this business. And there are various reasons why you got into the real estate business. But what I'm hearing from a lot of agents is while they love the real estate business, they really don't love chasing the paperwork very much. And they don't love the repetitive tasks of having to follow up with clients and with co-brokes and with title companies and lenders. So in a nutshell, and I think, certainly Mark, you alluded to this, my role as a transaction coordinator is to step in at the time you're under contract and ensure a smooth and timely transition all the way through. And I know you're talking about justifying costs, justifying admin, justifying transaction coordinator. I would cost you a small fraction of what an admin would cost and provide you the kind of leverage that you need to grow your business. So you can use me as needed. And I will tell you that I have some agents that use me during their busy season. So as we get closer to spring season, I may see a lot more agents start to share files with me, but you can use me on an as needed basis. So if you find yourself just getting a little bit too overwhelmed, maybe you've got several deals pending at one time and you just feel you need a little bit of help, have me jump in for you and I can help you through some of that so that you don't feel so overwhelmed. My question basically would be, what could you do with a couple of extra hours that I'll save you? And if the answer to that question is, well, I would do things that make me money, because I think you'll all agree that chasing paperwork isn't going to make you any money. What makes you money is, doing the marketing and the networking and building your sphere of people that you can touch.
You cut out for a second.
So, and that's some of the stuff that agents really love to do. They love that marketing aspect of the business, and they really don't love the paperwork. So maybe this is the year, or maybe this is the time for you to stop chasing the paperwork and start selling more real estate. So that's my pitch.
Awesome.
Who's ready to start? Anybody out there have something pending right now that they'd like some help with?
And can you drop your email address, phone, and anything else that would be applicable in the chat?
Sure, I'll have to do that with my phone, but yeah, happy to do it.
Awesome. And I can send follow-up too if you have if you have that. Appreciate you. Perfect. Fantastic train of thought. Oh, can they work anywhere? And I would say it's important to accountability and expectations need to be clarified. And that's true of whether you're working across the table from one another or whether the person lives in Singapore. And if you're able to clarify those things so that that person knows what it takes for them to win their week, and you have assurance and there's accountability around checking in on those things, then there's a lot of different methods for that. I would recommend, if it's someone that's local, that you at least have a cadence for, hey, we have our weekly check-in, you know, our longer meeting on Tuesday for 45 minutes to talk about X, Y, or Z, and then we do a 15-minute check-in at the beginning of each day, just so that there's a high level of communication. But communication is more important than presence, I would say. Just speaking of talent for a quick second, which, yeah, I think this is where we were. So we hire talent. We hire people that are going to help grow our business, that are going to be excited about the vision and the trajectory of our business, and that are going to fill gaps. Because yes, at least at the outset, these are the tasks and these are the activities that we're looking to solve for. But you'll reach a point, as we talk about a 7th level sort of business, where there's too much work for this person to handle. They can only process so many transactions, or they can only do so much database management or client care or marketing or whatever the thing is, or we need to bring in more help. And the right person will enable you to, will be the person that can help lead that next hire, if that makes sense. So, and the Achilles are a great example of this. The person that you ended up going with, I believe, had the highest potential for that. Not just doing the job well and doing the specific tasks well, but as you grow and new problems are created, you want a person that's going to help push and ask, what about this? What about that? True talent. I think you got a good one. I hope you guys are able to work out all the nitty gritties. So that's step 2, and we'll dive into more kind of tools around that. But hiring talent involves marketing the role. We talk about lead generation as well as hiring is prospecting based, marketing enhanced, meaning you put it out there, but you're also pursuing. It's a high touch approach. So once you're in touch, there's an attraction process, the recruiting. Identifying is how do we know this is the right person, and what tools do we have to do that? And then how do we actually hire them and welcome them into our structure? Then the model is, it's not train, it's not just let them go do their own thing. It's training and consulting. It's clarifying what's the role and then providing a consultative approach for their ongoing work. I'll say nobody does this better, in my opinion, than Jose, as far as the ongoing consultative relationship with his reports. This involves setting expectations and setting accountability. Just an aside, there are a lot of teams out there, and Gary will say there's 2 types of teams. There's teams and then there's blobs. And you guys we've all seen both versions, but the difference between a team and a blob, and we could probably guess, a team has too many leads to handle. So they say, hey, we got leads. That's about where it stops. As far as structure, clarity, expectations. Gary would say, a team, if you want to show me a team, show me their goals, show me their plans, and show me the accountability that they have around those things. What are you aiming for? What are you going to do to get there? And how do you know that everybody's doing their part?
Say it again, they have show me their goals.
Goals, plans, and accountability. And that's a hard one to get right. And we can spend some time on that as it's helpful for you folks. All right, and this is going to be kind of, we can go down any number of rabbit trails. We're going to do some improv and conversation here based upon what you guys are interested in. KW has an immense number of tools to help kind of launch you in this direction. Job description templates. So the role that most of you are hiring for is, and ironically, it doesn't exist in the database at this point, but it's an operations assistant or something of that nature. You don't want to call it transaction coordinator if they're also going to be doing database. You don't want to say it's marketing manager if they're doing some transactional work. And I think just calling someone your assistant or administrative assistant, like you can do that, but I don't know, ops assistant is what I like. You don't want to give someone too much title too fast, because you want them to be able to become your director of operations, not launch them into that. So give them a role that's meaningful, that's clear, but doesn't say too much. We have something called a 30-60-90, which is what sets helpful parameters as you think about empowering and giving people what they need in order to own their role and really thrive. What do I accomplish in my first 30 days, my second 30 days, my third 30 days in order to know that I've won? We also have something called a Keller personality assessment and career visioning. So this is a tool that helps you understand how someone's wired. I like this person, but her level of structure and logical problem solving skills that would be important for a transaction coordinator are really low. So while I like her, she's not a great fit for what I'm looking for right now. Connected with that is something called career visioning, which is basically the KPA, which Lynette, I'm going to refer to you a lot because you guys are just in this process right now. It's a 63-page report, and it's not just designed to be a who are they? It's a who are they? What questions can you ask to help better understand who they are? And then what sorts of conversations can you have as you think about where they're going, what their dreams are, what's important to them, what expectations you can set. So it's really a hiring tool more than just an identifying tool. And Nick, I think you guys just did one of those. Is that right?
Yeah, we did it, I think on Monday or Sunday.
Are we joined by Jaden here?
Yeah, this is Jaden Martin. He's
Hi, Jaden. Well,
he's with Massillon High School. He's interning with me for a few months. So
directly applicable. That's awesome.
Yep.
There's an affordability calculator. So as you think about whether it makes sense in your business, there's expenses and then there's cost of sales. So a referral is a cost of sale. A monthly salary is an expense. And so being able to really understand, is my business making enough? I might want this, but can my business sustain this? And I think we know intuitively, but there's a really helpful calculator on KW Connect to dive into that. There's performance improvement tools, there's exit interview templates, there's an immense amount. I'll just show you guys a brief preview and then we'll go where we want to go. So KW Connect, resources, leverage is the place to go. And then, okay, can I afford them? Career visioning documents, there's classes around this stuff, organizational charts, job profiles, onboarding documents, 30, 60, 90s. There's an immense amount under the hood, so that you don't feel like you're just out there floating. Let's do a stop screen share. All right, I've given some framework here. Where do you guys want to go? We've talked about some categories. You want more clarity on steps to go from here. Sam, I'll put you on the spot. Where would be most helpful for us to go, kind of to mastermind around the growth of your business?
You know, I need time to think, Mark. Where would it help to go? You're gonna have to just give me, I don't know.
Amanda,
I
Nick,
don't know.
what would be most helpful, most clarifying as you think about moving from concepts? So this is all concepts, this is clay on the table, to action. What would be most helpful as we think about kind of a case study? Nick, you want to take a stab?
Yeah, I'll take a stab. I think what would be most helpful, because obviously we all have our own different ways that we run our business and different needs and different personalities. So I think just helping, I don't know how you would do this, but helping each of us that are going to be in this series to identify the areas in which we would want somebody to help us. So the things that we like to do or things that we don't mind to do, and then the parts of our business that we absolutely either hate or don't make money, to to identify those areas. And then I guess the process around bringing somebody on to do that for us.
Amanda, you want to nuance that?
I mean, he pretty much said it spot on exactly what I'm looking for and really what is needed. I mean, it's spot on.
Mhm.
Yeah, I feel like for me, there's so many areas in real estate that you can dive into, and it's like, what would be the most important thing to dive into first? And to get it and to do it well. You know, you have your basics that make money, you know, showing houses, getting clients under contract, closing, like, I have been focusing on money producing activities.
Mhm.
And I need to also be focusing on things that aren't directly money producing to get going to that next hiring step.
Mhm.
So if I hired somebody right now, they'd be like,
Mhm.
like, you're a mess. And I don't want to be a mess. I want to hire someone and I have my stuff together.
Right. So I'm gonna basically talk about the process to move from idea to action. So step one, you guys probably can't. Can you read this? Can you see this? Ish.
Backwards, probably.
Yeah. Step one.
If you could start on the right side of the board.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll write it in
That
Hebrew.
area.
That'd be
This way.
awesome.
Not that talented. So buckets. So identify the buckets. What are, as we think about, okay, you know, lead gen, that means a lot of different things. You know, there's networking, there's cold calling, there's database nurture, there's marketing efforts, you know, there's lots within there. Admin. So contract to close, database management. Scheduling. There's kind of ongoing servicing of clients, which means, you know, there's a lot within there. So we're identifying what are the buckets, and this is the space. You know, let's call this relationships. This is the space where we talk about the one thing. The more of your time that's spent in this bucket, the more your business will grow. Spending time here will not grow your business. Spending time here will sustain and remove stress, will help you to do things right, but this isn't going to grow your business. And this just has to happen. The showings, the appointments, all that. Yeah, Lynette.
I feel like I'd like to just say it might be a little bit easier for us because we've got each other, for Scott and I, so we can sort of bounce ideas and sit. So I feel like for those of you who don't have somebody to sort of brainstorm with, like, I feel like we're going through this together, and him and I, so we've got this combined ability to talk about what we want or don't want. But I think what people, so for everybody kind of doing it on their own, what you guys don't know is how helpful Mark has been through all this. And then I feel like at Keller Williams, and specifically you, Mark, and Legacy Group, is anytime we've come to you, you've had answers for us, you've had resources for us. Like, you've done our second interview for us after we've interviewed our first set of, you know, we made phone calls and stuff, but you've helped us from figuring out what we were going to write up and where to put it, which was in Indeed. And now you're helping us walk through the 30, 60, 90, telling us things about like needing to have it's time for us to do an LLC and get a dedicated business account. So all those little nuances, people may not realize how involved you are specifically, and that you're really there walking through this with us. And I think that they may not know that, because I think it can be scary. If this were me by myself, I don't know how I would be able to do it. So Mark's been super helpful about that. And I think starting with Ann, that brought an element to us that there was like no danger there, because if we didn't have business, we didn't use her. But as we used her, we were able to see what that could look like to have somebody handling that aspect of your business. And there's just no risk with her, because it's $225 for only if the transaction closes.
Yes.
So anyhow, those
Yeah,
are
and you can learn, that's a good, because leverage is a two-way street. It's not just someone taking stuff, but it's you empowering someone. And that's easier said than done. I'll just say that. So whether it's with a transaction coordinator or another for hire service, learning how to succeed through others it's a muscle that you need to develop if you don't already have experience in that space. Yeah, to Lynette's point, part of my role is to help folks take the steps towards this and to not just give ideas, but to be involved in the process as it makes sense for you. So it's fun for me. We did 3 interviews last week.
Monday, Tuesday.
Yeah.
And then I think about the hiring, that aspect, like, we're a hot mess. So then we realize the person we bring on needs to be able to step in and realize that we're a hot mess, and we need you to have something that we can't do for whatever reason, because it doesn't match my high ID or his high IS type thing, and so we need whatever the organization and stuff that person can bring. They need to just jump in and be sort of able to think outwardly and say, here's what you guys need, here's how we can, I've got
100%,
ideas. You know, and
100%.
that's who you're hiring.
Yes, and we could do these in interchangeable order, but buckets comes first. What are the realms of the business? So we kind of touched on this already, like the 2 main buckets, Nick, was it Nick? Amanda, somebody? Is it's database management, and as it enables you to nurture your people, and set up smart plans and getting good information so that they're getting everything that they can from you. And then it's transaction coordination. Those are the 2 main buckets. So once we've identified that, I don't have to do too much more erasing. We move towards, and helpful within this is a list. So, and you can do this pulling from other resources, but I would even encourage you to dissect your own business. Hey, how did I meet this client? How did I get in front of them? What did I do to obtain them if it's something other than a direct friend? What happened or what could have happened? So kind of building out a list, and there's lots of resources in KW Connect on this as well, of lead generation. What all happens in the lead generation space? Then, okay, what happens in the finding a property and servicing them space for a buyer in that scenario? Then what happens in the contract to close space? And effectively, you're picking, and kind of from that list that I shared already, picking not just what's the stuff I don't like doing, it's what makes sense for someone else to take. So your person should fully take contract to close off of your plate. Not that you're not involved, not that you're not the one showing up at an inspection, but they're the one who owns the paperwork of that process. So once we have the buckets and the list of the activities that they're doing in order to free you up to grow, then we develop a job description. We then post and recruit. So Lynette and Scott, you guys were just on Indeed. You tried Facebook a little bit.
I did a little bit on Facebook because I had a friend who recommended it, but I got like one person through Facebook, and then we went to Indeed, and I think we paid like $100.
Yep.
And we had like 50 applications.
And if you think about
in like
that,
2 weeks or less.
it feels weird, like, oh, why should I've got a lot of Facebook friends. I shouldn't need to spend $100 to do that. But if you think about, again, assuming it works out with this person, the value that they're going to bring, $100 investment to find the right person and to do a good process is essential. So in this process, don't hire the next warm body. Don't hire the girl that you just bumped into from high school. Don't go that route. Everything is a funnel. And so part of Lynette and Scott's process is, hey, we want to post it. We want to have a real process here. And our process with them, so once we get leads at the top or applicants, our process is such, I don't know if you guys can see this, it's screen. So this is a 5-minute phone conversation. It's why are you applying? What led you to apply? What circumstances in your life led you to this? And you'd be amazed what learn in a conversation like this. And we haven't debriefed that, but, oh, I just lost my other job for X, Y, or Z, or my manager's an idiot and I need to get out of here. The way people talk about situations they're leaving from will tell you all you need to know about their character. If they're this person that, and this person that, you're gonna be that person for them at some point. So the way someone talks about their people and their situation, we don't got no time for drama. Or for victimhood, and you can typically smell that in 5 minutes. So this isn't an interview. Hey, thanks for applying. I'd love to have a 5-minute phone conversation to learn more what's led you to apply as we think about next step. Not an interview, no pressure. Like you want them to be as casual as possible. If it checks out there and you get a general good feeling, that's when your first interview is going to be. And that's the more traditional. Let's sit down. Let's talk about the role, let's talk about you, let's talk about your story, let's talk about your skills, weaknesses, strengths. And there's loads of questions in the thought process portion of the KPA that you can literally just pull from there if you want to. Did you guys do your KPA before this?
I have not done a KPA. Scott did his before we did that.
But
you're
for
saying
them,
for them.
yeah.
We had, out of the 50 responses we got, I think we called about 10, 11, 12 people, ruled out a handful. So then we ended up with maybe like 6 people took their KPA, and that was before the interview. Then based on the KPA,
So
kind of,
I think I like that. So, all right, great. Thanks for the phone conversation. I'm going to send you an assessment, which enables you to have a better interview.
That's right.
And this also, if someone doesn't respond to their email or doesn't follow directions, like part of the hiring process is not just identifying the right person, but you can tell, but giving them a tryout. And sometimes Tracy Jones, she has like a send an email to this email address, and in the subject line, you have to name your favorite color. And like, it's silly stuff, but like, hey, I'm hiring someone that has to have a high level of attention to detail. And if they can't follow simple instructions, then this is going to show up in every aspect of their business.
getting into our building was good because Scott very clearly texted one of our interviewees how like to park in the back of the building, and when you enter, and that person like parked out front and came in and was lost and stuff. So,
And that's a little
Yeah.
thing,
Yeah.
but like every little thing tells you about,
Yeah.
what's the line? Where you are anywhere is where you are everywhere. Which is like, ooh, I don't know if I agree with that. And if I do, I don't know if I like it.
And
But
the
I
others
think
all
there's
got it right. It
truth.
wasn't like
I
all
like
of
that a
them.
lot.
Yeah, it's challenging. So you assess them here, giving them something to do and giving them directions to follow to set you up for a good conversation. And if you like them, and let's just use your guys' numbers. All right, we're gonna have 50 applications. A bunch of them aren't gonna respond to anything we do. That's okay. So then we
Well,
have,
we didn't respond to a bunch of them just based on their applications alone.
Yep, and that's your choice. So then let's have 10 to 15 screening calls. Let's interview 3 to 5. And then let's do a second interview with 2 or 3.
And I think about 6 took the KPA out of that 10 to 15.
Okay. Yep, that's great. That's ideal. What you don't want, and that's part of why you market it and you recruit, what you don't want is, well, I had 3 people on Facebook send me to their sister-in-law. It's like, well, that's not a funnel. That's a couple relationships. And this enables you, when you've got a real funnel, to say, here's our process. I'm running this like a business, not like someone who's looking for a friend. I am looking for friends, but not in this place. The second interview, to Lynette's point, you don't want to, particularly as a solopreneur, which most of you are at this point, you don't want to be the sole decision maker in your hiring process, which doesn't mean you don't have good instincts, but if you're seeking to run this like a business, you want to defend your choice to someone else. So the formal KPA process, which we didn't do perfectly by the book with you, but we were pretty close, is, all right, in-person KPA, group interview with some different people, and then a defense of like, hey, here's my person, here's why I think they'd be great. And the defense, the jury is poking holes. And what about this? Have you thought about that? Not meaning that you shouldn't hire them, but giving you a frame of reference for what it'll look like to manage them. So that's the flow. Never hire in an emergency. Never hire because you need someone before you go on your summer vacation or anything like that.
And this time of year has been perfect, doing it like in January when business is slow. It was just the perfect. So, if like you think about it over the course of this next year and you're considering doing it, I would highly suggest gearing towards that if you
Right.
have that luxury.
Not when you're in the heat of the.
Right, not like August.
Right, so now you've got your person, they're hired. Next is expectations and empowerment. So this is where, and I'll just pull this up so that you guys have a frame of reference. Cody 6090. Let's do Director of Operations, just for fun. Hold on a sec.
While you're doing that, I'm just gonna mention for us, the affordability piece also, I was listening to a podcast and they pointed out, if you were gonna pay somebody $50,000 a year and you don't know if you can afford that, you break it down, like, can you afford, but 6 months would be $25,000 a year, 3 months, which is like a trial portion would be.
Yep.
I can't do that math. Whatever, could you
Yeah.
afford that trial period? And if they
Yes.
work and your business grows, then
Right.
that's a win, but if not, you're not out $50,000, you're out, a quarter of that based on.
That's a good way to look at it.
Yeah.
It's not as scary to think
Yes.
about that way.
So if anyone on the screen didn't hear, Lynette basically said, like, nothing's irreversible here. Sometimes we avoid doing the right thing because we feel like we need to go all in and get it right and set up an W-2 and do all these things. Like, no. Can you pay someone for 3 months?
You're not paying them $50,000 up front.
Right.
Yeah.
Here's the.
Right, exactly.
And we've been very clear to say, like, we wanna get this right and we're gonna go through the steps. We want this to be a good fit for everybody. And-
Yes. Yeah. So you want to do it in earnest. It's not like, whatever. This is just a 3-month trial that I planned. This isn't a temp. You're not hiring for a temp job, but to think about it in like, no, what does this actually mean for this month? And to your point, by the end of that time, if you aren't experiencing a return on investment in your business, and you're not going to experience that 2 weeks in, but hopefully 4 to 6 months in, it's like, they're off and running and it's freeing me to do things that are growing the business in a different way. It should become pretty obvious pretty quick. So here is a 30, 60, 90, and this is super boilerplate. It's a template, but it is kind of creating clarity around what it looks like for them to win in each month. A helpful frame of reference for me. And so you can download this and you can totally modify it. Have you guys, you're working on yours?
We need to, it's moving faster and I don't have this done yet, so.
Yes.
This is my next step.
Christian Lamb has one that is totally overwhelming. I don't know if you guys looked into that.
I haven't.
It's like on day 17, here's the thing you should do. Like very detailed, which those who know him well wouldn't be shocked to learn that. It's too much. I've told him that, like, bro, you need to back it up. But what it's designed is, it's not the job description and it's not a to-do list, but it's for the person, because nobody wants to be a micromanager and nobody wants to be micromanaged. But it's, hey, you're winning if at the end of 30 days, you've accomplished these things. They're learning things. Hey, you've read this. You're beginning to do tasks. You're getting set up and gaining competence. As you think about the first 3 months, we talk about, I do it, we do it, they do it. So in your first month, it's a lot of follow me as I do my stuff, and let's play around within Command and come with me on an appointment, not because you're going to be doing this, but because I want you to understand the guts and the elements of my business. Then it's shifting into, now we're under contract. Watch me as I handle the paperwork and I'm putting in a listing on the MLS. Watch me as I do it. Month 2 or phase 2, a good talented person is going to be faster than a month. phase 2 is we do it. All right, let's do this together. All right, do you remember what we did last time? It's a shoulder to shoulder. We're collaborating on the task. And then month 3 is you're doing it, and I'm a resource to you, and I'm checking in, but it's you're free. And really, kind of as you're rounding into the earlier part of the 90-day range, they should be fully operational. They should have done the main tasks themselves a couple of times, and feel confident in that. Is that helpful, or does that make sense as a frame of reference? This is not enough detail, and Christian's is too much detail. And so if you want to sit down and mastermind 30, 60, 90, I'd be glad to do that. But you want to launch someone well with a 30, 60, 90. So the expectations, 30, 60, 90, go here. And then the ongoing consultative relationship. And this is once they're hired, once they're mobilized, it's what are the rhythms and what's the relationship look like in order to help them thrive? What cadence are you communicating with one another? What questions are you asking? And the rule is consistent and predictable is the way that you win. It's not, hey, what do you want to talk about today? It's here are the things that we're talking about. All right, we're checking in on our pending contracts. We're going to talk about things that we have coming down the pipeline. We're going to talk about client issues. We're going to talk about database priorities. And then at the end of our 45-minute time, anything else that you need from me. And the goal is for them in those meetings, for them to own it. They know what their responsibilities are. They are bringing the report. They're bringing the, hey, here's where I'm at on this, and you are consulting to that. The questions are, how's it going relative to the goal? And for people that aren't good with open-ended questions, you ask 1 to 10, how do you feel it's going? Okay, what makes it a 7? If you have someone that always gives themselves a 9, you need to push and prod a little bit more. I've had some of those before. What makes it that way? How do you feel about that? How can I help you? That's effectively the arc of the supervisory kind of consultative relationship. Anything else you need from me? You want to consult and to empower, not, hey, can you have these 8 things done for me by this time on Tuesday? The more they own and they're saying what they need to do, the more y'all are likely to thrive. Does that get to some of what you were going for? What else? What other questions? What other scenarios can we play with?
I think another practical thing that is scary for me is like how you pay somebody. So like, I don't want to bring them on and have payroll and be responsible for their taxes and how that plays out.
Won't you 1099? Is
Yeah.
that normal?
Yeah.
Yep. So how do we compensate in a way that is fair? You want to be fair. You want to be someone that people want to work with. But how do you do that without going broke or creating more administrative mess than necessary? One is, if you haven't already, set up an LLC, because having an LLC set up will enable you to set up a business bank account. Some of you may have already done this. If you haven't, it's just a good thing to do to create separation within your business. It's not like legally required, but it's just better and provide some protection for you. So I'm glad to help you with that. You can set up an LLC pretty easily on LegalZoom and other digital spaces if it's not anything all that complex. So then you're paying, your business is getting paid from deals that you're closing, and you're paying people through your business account. Everything runs through there. And ideally, you put yourself on a salary out of your business and you're taking profit distributions quarterly. That's a best practice for people that are producing at a moderate level, given the highs and lows. 'cause
Say
they
that
know-
again, take quarterly distributions?
Yeah, pay yourself as an owner of your business on the profit.
Just 4 times a year.
It's whatever you want.
Plus
Um,
your salary, plus your regular salary, right?
Yeah, so you can say, all right,
Oh,
like
I'm like-
in my business, my GCI last year was 150, but I mean, you all know, some months that means you made 20 grand and some months you made $1,200, you know, and so the way to manage that is say, you know what, I'm gonna pay myself 7 grand a month, whatever, but a reasonable percentage that, you know, our expenses are paid and it's manageable. Knowing that I'm not making as much in January as I'm going to be in August. Keeping that money in your business account and then paying yourself quarterly profit. I'd say much more than quarterly, and I wouldn't do monthly simply because you're gonna have those down months.
Yeah, right.
That's just my recommendation. So that you're not in panic mode on those down months. And particularly as you are taking on payroll, this becomes more important. You can get by with not taking a check in a given month, but you got to pay that person the
Mhm.
$3,000 that month or whatever
Yeah.
in order to do that. One other note, so, and MREA has all kinds of resources on compensation models. My recommendation as you think about compensation models is one, set it up in a way that is fair. You know, you're doing research and I'd be glad to kind of tell you what's normal in our area. If you're looking for a full-time admin, it's going to be about 32 to 36 a year. But you can slice that a number of different ways. And Scott and I were just talking yesterday. That doesn't mean base salary. And I would discourage you from just thinking, oh, all right, I need to cut up a $35,000 a year salary check. It's okay. Okay, it's $30,000 a year or whatever that is per month, $2,500 a month base salary, but then incentive bonus structure. And there's a lot of different ways you can do that. Usually it's tied to the number of transactions that you're doing. Because even if they're doing more than that, you want everybody on your team rooted in the success of your business. So even if they're not the one processing those transactions, for them to say like, yeah, we did 6 transactions last month and that means X, Y, or Z for me. So what I recommended Scott and Lynette consider is, all right, here's the base salary. What is your target? I think we talked quarterly, like, okay, I want to close at least 10 transactions a quarter. That's like baseline, but I'd like to hit 16. So anything above 10, I'm paying an extra $200 a month or $200 per transaction. So it's not just about hitting the goal, but oh, yeah, let's keep this going. You want your admin kind of rooted in the success of your business. You don't have to do it that way, but I would discourage just a straight hourly or straight salary. I certainly don't encourage a straight hourly because a straight hourly model discourages productivity. You want people's compensation to be tied to output as much as possible, if you can control it. Other thoughts, questions, directions we could dive? We just got a couple minutes left, and
I will share one more
Provide value,
resource.
yeah.
We were at the bank yesterday just talking about some of this, setting up these accounts with them. And they connected us with the Small Business Development Center that's like free. So as you think about forming your LLC, if you haven't done that, and some of those kinds of things, I have emails and we both have had missed phone calls from them because we've been busy today, but they've reached out to us already. So, and they provide services that normally you have to pay for. So that may be a resource for, I mean, I've
say
got-
that again. Small Business
It's the
Development.
Small Business Development Center, and this, now the ones that have reached out to us are out of New Philadelphia, but they're in different communities. I think
That's great.
everywhere. And
Starting a small business is not you're not reinventing the wheel when you're doing that. There's boilerplate things that everybody does. So that's great that is a resource.
Yeah.
Other things. My last slide here was just as it pertains to your kind of key aha or next step. NINS stands for your most important next step. I don't need to show that. But. So as you think about some of what we've hit on, Achilles are on, on the path, and others of you are kind of thinking about what does it look like to get there. I've provided broad categories. And my plan, just so you guys know and have an interest in ongoing conversation around this, is to, at subsequent meetings, have someone that's further down the road than the average person in this group come and talk for a third of the time about what they do, how they did it, what they set up, what it looks like to hold people accountable, just to see different versions of that. Because you don't need to reinvent the wheel, and it's also not one size fits all as far as what growth looks like. So I'd love to hear from anyone who is willing to share one key takeaway and what is your most important next step, or MINS, as you think about leveraging your business.
I appreciated the idea that a team has goals, plans, and accountability. You said that Gary Keller would say, show me a team and you're gonna show me someone that has goals, plans, and accountability. And so I think for me, that's my question, is as we bring on this person, what can I be doing to help facilitate, like, I feel like the person on our team needs to be held accountable, so I need to have the ideas for that, and even then inspired, like, I don't know if there's resources just to help myself or Scott and myself. I don't know, put that in place better. Does that make sense?
You'll find, you should find yourself, readers are leaders, leaders are readers. You're going down a different growth journey when you're looking to add leverage to your business. And to Lynette's point, to lead people and not just manage people requires setting vision. Have you thought about this? Like your head and your brain's in a different space, more than just, are you getting your job done? And so what you're listening to, reading to, and sharing with them, that's another thing Jose is really good at. I'll just get an article every 10 days or so. Here's a podcast that I think would be helpful, because you want someone to be better from working with you, not just financially, but in who they are. So inspiration. That's good. What else? How about you, Amanda? I'll put you on the spot.
What else do I need from this?
What's your most important next step?
My most important, okay, so I mean, the biggest thing is trying to, I don't really know. I guess that's where my hardest thing is. It's like, I have so much business that just keeps like rolling in, which like I said, is a good problem. It's just, I think I need like someone who's going to actually be able to help manage that day to day. And just like kind of handle like those behind the scenes things that are becoming time wasters for me.
So what do you need to do to get there?
Well, I'm currently creating a job description, and then I'm going through and mapping out what are things that are like low productivity, what are high productivity, and I'm narrowing it down to figure out what things need to go to that person and what things are going to be kept by me. So I'm kind of like going through that, which it sounds like it's an easy process, but it really is not. So I'm just kind of diving through that right now. And then once I have that nailed down, then I need to start the interview process.
Or the posting, and you need to start the funnel process. How about that?
Right, right.
One comment that I wanted to loop back on, one barrier that people can run into mindset wise is, I need to be good at this. I need to master my database before I hire someone to manage my database. False. You would have mastered your database by now if you were the right person to master your database.
Hey, Mark, I have to take this call, just so you know.
All right, do your thing. So that doesn't exonerate you of being invested in the health of your database, but also it's to free you from feeling like you need to figure everything out before taking the next step, because the right hire will be better at that sort of thing than you. Doesn't mean that they're have experience. You know, the person that you guys are hiring doesn't have more experience than you, but she thinks in checklists and how can I bring order out of chaos? Like the right hire, and that's what the KPA is helpful for, is they're going to be naturally like, oh, I bring order. I like wake up thinking about getting things done. Whereas for me, it's like, you know, what happened to that list? Oh, it's been a couple weeks since I created it. Feel like I'm all over the place. Like the right person is going to have the DNA to help you do that. So I don't want you to feel like, oh, I need to be the tightest transaction coordinator ever before I bring someone into that space. As much as how much would the right person, they need to have your input as you then go out and grow the business. Nick, how about you? What's your most important next step?
That's a very good question. I think I'm more just trying to like chew on the idea of, you know, a transaction coordinator, like for Ann Presley, for her to do, say she did all of my 40 deals last year, that's only $9,000. And I'm wondering if I've hired somebody and I brought somebody on, in addition to doing transaction coordination, what else can I have them do? Because obviously Ann doing that same thing every single day, she has the bandwidth to be able to do that for however many agents she can possibly do it for. So, you know, finding the right person that's capable of handling all of these tasks and doing maybe some creative things here, you know, some mundane things that I don't necessarily want to do, but having a structure for somebody to do all of those things. That's kind of where I'm like, because you have to build that structure and I have to teach somebody to do it if they have no experience. And that's where I get a little overwhelmed and I kind of talk myself out of it.
Yep, that's a great point. And I think that's how you guys got to where you are, saying, hey, yeah, transaction coordination is helpful, but we also have other needs. And when it's someone that works with you more than just a for-hire service, there's a higher level of connection and shared experience that enables you to be tighter on things. You also don't have to hire someone full-time. I think that was another thing we didn't address is you may not need someone 40 hours a week right out the gate. You might need someone 10 hours a week doing the stuff that matters most. Hey, I'll pay you $200 a week to handle all aspects of my database, which sounds okay, that's 10 grand or 11 grand. That sounds like a lot of money, but if you think about what the ROI on that could be, if you're actually doing something in your business that you've never done before, that's going to pay for itself 10 times over. So it's thinking creatively rather than thinking, can my business afford a full-time W-2 employee, which is not what you need to do. It's 2:32. Stay tuned for more info and kind of the when and the who for our next conversation. It'll probably be late in March. But thanks for joining, everybody.
Thanks, Mark.
Nice to meet you, Jaden.
Nice to meet you too.
Thanks, guys. Take care.